Here we have the Burley Motorsports two-piece bushing set along with the stainless hardware. If you look on the inside of these bushings, you can see that they have grooves. That allows more grease or lubricant to stay inside the bushing as well, to help surround the stainless sleeve that's in there. Just keeps it nice and lubricated. Like I said, this is a two-piece set, which makes it easier to install. Compared to the original one bushing that came in the lower control arm. It was a bugger to get out. I had to use a press to even get it out. But this two-piece bushing set is actually extremely easy to install. Like I said earlier, you can just put some grease on it and push it in with your hand from either side. It's really easy. These grooves help keep the sleeve in there nice and slide the sleeve in pretty easily. So the stainless hardware, I don't know why people didn't use stainless to begin. So the first thing that you want to do before you take apart any of your old suspension is mark your original bolt, your upper control arm bolt, so you know which way it needs to be facing, and then you can put the washers in on each side in the correct way. So just make sure you mark it. I'm getting new ones, but I still marked my original one, so I can. You can tell it's two flat edges, so you'll be able to tell which way it needs to go roughly. Your alignment shop might need to move it a little bit, but you at least got the rough idea. After you have removed all of the stock front suspension components, which you can find how to do in other places, you're going to want to drill the hole for the limiting strap. And the limiting strap will be on the back side or the rear side of the front suspension cup right here, and you're going to want to drill a hole centered about 1 inch back, centered with this cup at the top right here. You can see I marked a little dot inside right there. That's centered with this cup and about 1 inch back from the front right here. You want to get it centered so that way you can get a socket on, and after you drill it, the drill bit size needs to be 25/64. That's what he calls for. I'm sure if you do something close to that, it'll work. Something that I did that you might want to do is I first started with the little pilot hole, just to kind of get a little indentation right there to give a guide for my drill bit, and I simply just put my drill in here, got it up in the hole, and I used a jack and pumped up against the lower control arm here and kind of use it as a reverse drill press. That way I don't really have to use any strength to push up or get a weird angle, and it's pretty precise. I'm happy with it. So there's a little tip for you guys. Before you drive on your new upper control arms, you want to make sure you grease each one of these joints. I used just some red synthetic grease, but you want to get some quality grease for this. You want to make sure that when you install it, both sides have this little shoulder bushing. When I first installed it, I didn't have it on the left side, as you can see here. This is the order of the stuff that you want to put, like the washers that he sends, that you want to put on this big Allen bolt, the upper control arm bolt. This loose one that has a larger opening goes closest to the head, then it goes through the joint. Then you have these two washers that have the cutout for the flat sides of this upper control arm bolt, and then it would be going through this joint, and then on the other side of this joint over here you would have this this washer that has, let me get the other one, it has kind of like a tapered side on one side and it's flat on the other. The tapered side will be sitting up perfectly with the tapered side on the bolt, and then the nut of the upper control arm bolt will be on here. So when you put these washers in, they go in between, kind of right like here, and then same on this side. You can see the hole is offset. You want the hole closest to the front, or facing you. The first time I put it in, I wasn't paying attention. I put it in like that, and it just doesn't work. The washer needs to sit in flush with this post right here. And if you want the shaped upper control arm bolt to fit through, and for it to sit inside the pocket where it needs to be sitting, it needs to be facing forward. Okay, the next thing you want to do after you got that in is you want to grind this front corner off just a tiny bit. That will limit the travel because it will be hitting up against the actual red part of the upper control arm. So you just want to cut a tiny little bit off of that, so that way the control arm doesn't hit that anymore. Okay, so here's the actual shock and spring assembly. You want the lock washer and the large nut on top. You want to go ahead and tighten up the bolt and nut that's up here. There's a little cone aluminum piece that sits on top of the spring right here. It's kind of the spring perch. If you look, you can see there's kind of a slit, so you can install that after. And the way that the bottom works, they have these two spacers. One of them has a shoulder, the other one doesn't. So you just simply, one goes in like that, the other one on the other side, and that just helps keep the shock centered into this hole right here. And if you have the older style like I do, sheet metal lower control arms, Burley, you have to let Burley know, and he will send this extra spacer which goes on the end of the bolt that goes through right here. So it sits like that, and then this goes through the hole, and then that spacer perfectly pushes out this limiter strap to where it needs to be. So make sure, if you have the older style sheet metal lower control arms like I do, you need to let Burley know, and he will send this extra spacer with your kit. Also, there's two little threaded washers, kind of like this. One of them is flat, the other one has a little shoulder on it, which is actually the spring perch for the bottom set of the spring. So the one that has a shoulder needs to go up against the spring. This one is just a locker mechanism, so once you have it the right height, you turn the top one until you have the right height of what you want, and then you turn this one and tighten this one up against the top spring perch, and it will lock it in place. So that's how you can adjust your height as well.